A big thanks and hello to Marcus Fountaine, founder and CEO of Fairfax and Favour, who are a multi-award-winning brand at the very forefront of British luxury fashion. Established in 2013 by Marcus and his business partner Felix, Fairfax and Favour is a lifestyle brand retailing the very best in luxury footwear and accessories for men and women. With designs for both city and country in mind, the brand creates timeless investments for anyone with a passion for style and adventure. Headquartered in converted stables in rural Norfolk, Fairfax and Favour products are now sold in over 60 stores, as well as directly through their website and regularly at country fairs across the UK. From humble beginnings to winning multiple awards, including Best Luxury Brand of the Year at the Direct Commerce Awards, Fairfax and Favour is now a multi-million-pound turnover business with 30 full-time employees, a warehouse in Portugal, and a strong following throughout the UK and beyond. Well done on what you've achieved so far, Marcus. You must be so proud of the brand that you've built and the following and recognition that you've received. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about how it all started back in 2013?
Yeah, sure. So, Steve, that's a very generous intro you've just given me. So, thank you very much. I normally have a habit of mumbling for the first couple of minutes. So, if I do on interviews, first of all, Felix and I is my business partner, co-founder, is still co-director. Me and him are friends from Norfolk and have been from a very young age. I think 5 or so. So, family friends. I think those birthday parties you have when you're 5 when pictures of us together. And you don't know who they are, you're just 5. So they're around there stealing all your presents. There's pictures of us. So so I live around this area and he lives about 20 miles from here. So we've been friends since that. But Felix and I always said that we were going to have business together. I think at the age of 15, because we were at school together. And we kind of I think we came up with the name when we were 15, actually. So it's quite a funny story behind. It's quite a funny joke behind this, actually. So it's not that. But I've told it lots of times. It's so our middle names are well, something Fountaine, which is mine, and Parker, which is his. If it was Fountaine Parker, that would have to be a pen company. And our other names are James, which is his, and John, which is mine, which we thought sounded like a sort of Bible or something company. And then our first Marks and Felix sounded like a wine bar in Soho. So we went for Fairfax and Favour, which is both our second middle names. And we got that when we were 15. Originally, actually, funny enough, I think I think we were about 16 or 17. I'm so hard to remember now, but we actually sketched together an idea for a Bounce Castle company. We were 16 and 17. It was called Fairfax and Favour. And I think we may have even bought the company's house, but Fairfax and Bounce Castle.
Okay. Yeah.
And we realised the Bounce Castles were about £10,000 from China, and that was the idea. Parents were obviously not willing to give us that kind of money. We couldn't get it. That went away, but we eventually ended up focusing in the footwear industry, and we realised that we kind of been both in there for about 6 months, and we decided we both wanted to do it, and we wanted to give it a go. So we ended up flying to Spain and putting all our savings into about 420 pairs of shoes, and then about 6 weeks later, we had to pay them all up front, which is a little bit scary.
Yeah.
They wanted, I think 1,000 was the minimum order. So we had to pay all the money up front. And then we just kind of crossed our fingers. And about 6 weeks later, I think nearly all of them turned up. I think about 3 of them didn't really care that we're missing the other 30. I don't even think we chased it now, think about it. But so that's how it all kicked off. So
brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. And I read a few articles before this, and you saved up, you worked 2 jobs, and it was in a pub, delivering fireplaces, and obviously from a young age you had this vision and worked really hard to get there, essentially, and make that initial move, and that quite nerve-wracking investment, I'm sure it was, into those 420 pairs of shoes. So it's quite an interesting starting point, I think, because so often nowadays, particularly in e-commerce businesses, a lot of money coming in through venture capitalists and so forth. So to hear that organic approach and how you sort of worked hard to save the money and grow it from a low foundation is great. And where did it? How did it develop from there? Was there? You mentioned events has been important for you.
Sure.
Is that a way that you managed to grow the brand and reach an audience from there?
Yeah. So luckily I actually wasn't here when they turned up, and Felix had to put it in my mum's attic, and which is logistically horrendous, and I think it was like 3 sets of stairs. You had to put them up, and so I managed to miss out on that, which was quite lucky. I think I was, and we then realised the first thing you do is, obviously, we kind of realised if you can't sell it to your friends and your family, you haven't got a business at all. So we're like, well, the lowest hanging fruit is family and friends. So the problem, anytime anyone come around to our house, I kind of expect them to buy a pair of shoes. Problem with that is your friends sort of kind of stop coming, or they just, or you eventually run out of friends. So there's only so much. That gives you your first few sales. We always say, if you can't even convince friends and family to buy them, then you're in trouble. Then we realized we kind of needed a bigger scope. And we kind of initially thought wholesale was the way forward, because we've got 400 shoes. Wouldn't it be great if we could sell 100 of them now? Because these one-by-one sales are quite painful. So we kind of like drove around a load of stores, I think in East Anglia, mostly unannounced, which wasn't very popular, and tried to sell them shoes. And I remember, I think after about the third one, they just said, who the hell's Fairfax available? And then I think one store owner said, why should we take the risk selling them? Why don't you guys sell them? And that was quite a good point. I remember that stuck quite well with Felix and I. So we called up, and like, right, where's the next show? And Holcombe Country Fair was on actually next weekend. Well, that's a tight turnaround, but we're like, reckon we might want to do it. So we called them up, and they're like, no, there's no space. And we said, so we're like, we've been lucky before. Let's just drive there and see what happens. We drove there. In the drive over, someone pulled out of a 6-meter stand outside.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were like, okay, fine, it's 500 quid. We're like, look, we don't have 500 pounds. I think we sold 3 pairs of shoes. We've got about 300 pounds. And we said, well, what about we get out everyone with some shoes in the office and we give you 300 pounds? And I think they agreed to it. So we then had a week to put together a stand, and we got like sofa from home. We kind of piecemealed together like so many items of basically from our house, and like mum's rug. I think we even took some bits, used my mum's horse trailer, and we went to the show, and I think we sold 80 pairs of shoes. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, phenomenal success. It was 3 days in beautiful weather in Holcombe, which is Norfolk, and 80 pairs of shoes.
Fantastic.
And that was really the platform. We're like, right, this is obviously how to do it. So we then spent the next 3 years doing 25 shows, 30 shows a year, relentless. And that is just that enabled us to grow the product, to refine the product, realize what people wanted, it enabled us not be in a situation where we didn't have to get, it was the price we paid for not having any external funding. We just had to grind out and do it. And we haven't had any funding yet. And I think, but you got to have, we were lucky. We were young enough to do it. Our girlfriends would help shows. We were able to stay at people's houses. So we very much, kind of like worked with, used our friends in that respect to help us out. But that's kind of that's how it really kicked off, is doing that.
Brilliant. And I guess one of the unusual or unique things of like doing a show and so forth, you're actually engaging with the customers directly, getting their feedback around the products, as you sort of touched on there. And then, you're not just selling products and seeing the data from that, but you're actually getting almost the qualitative feedback of people trying the products on and not quite being right and testing it in that way. There is one product in particular that stands out, and I think it's still your flagship product, the Regina. How did that come about?
Yeah, so the Regina has probably had about 20. We spent so much time refining that. I mean, and that came from doing shows. People go, the fit's not good enough. Right, we need to. It's too hard to get on people's legs. We put elastic in the back. Then still wasn't good enough to put more elastic in the back. Yeah, we realized we wanted a way of personalizing it, so we made the tassels interchangeable. We realized that people didn't just want flat Reginas, so we made heel ones as well. We did them lots of different colors. We got them in 3 different fits. And it took a huge amount of time. We made the soles memory foam so they're more comfortable. We line the inside the boots so they don't scrumple down. I mean, it took us, that really probably couldn't be done without the shows, because it was just constant feedback. The good thing about a show is if you try on, if 100 people try on a pair of boots and they all say it's tight, you get pretty annoyed with hearing the same thing. So you go off and you make sure it's changed. So it was really good for that, and that's kind of how we developed those boots. And we wouldn't be, the Regina was not just like one design in and complete. It was very much, we had to work really hard at making that what it is, and there's just no way we could have done that without that process. It was it was a lot of trial and error, and to get it where it is now. So those show that sort of like personal experience, and also just for your customer, understanding your customer. We literally, you'd ask them what we want, what product do we want next, and they would tell us, and they'd be like, oh, we'd love a belt from our Reginas, we would love a handbag to match our Reginas, we would then like a gilet to match our Reginas, and it suddenly became, the customers are so central to what we do. They are, part of our marketing. They're part of our product development, and we have a very close connection with them. I think that's what's kind of been one of the sort of benefits, or one of the things we've got right. I think is just we've just been talking to our customers constantly. So and they're part of everything we do.
Brilliant, because you started with quite a narrow product range. Very much from that first 420 order on the one shoe style, and then whilst you're still quite footwear orientated, particularly through that product and others that you sell, you now retail accessories and so forth. So is it that customer feedback that's been intrinsic to the development of that sort of those product categories essentially? So you started narrow but expanded out. And
obviously from a cash point of view, we couldn't afford more than 400. I think they couldn't afford more than 400 shoes. So by definition, you have to be quite narrow. I mean, if you've got someone backing you, giving you lots of money, you have to start small, and you can you're not going to be out. You're not going to out provide a range to a bigger competitor. They can go onto your, just to talk about the shows. Like, we're not going to have the biggest range, but we can do a narrow range of products better than anyone else. So you've got to leverage that, and it's like we said. I think I've said before. We didn't have the best, we started off, our stand looked pretty rubbish, I'll be honest. And, we've developed it since, again, through a lot of trial and error, through a lot of development. And we had very clever systems for the stock management, all that sort of thing, which we so far away from where we started, when it was just cardboard boxes in a horse trailer. But you probably can't make a nicer stand at the beginning than your competitors. You probably can't offer as big a range. You definitely can give a better individual service, and you can make a smaller range of products really, really, really good. And so that's kind of how you have to start out. I think. I don't know if there's unless you got a lot of money, there's not a lot of alternatives.
No, that's great. And it's great to, as I say, to hear that story about reinvestment and working hard to get there. There was, reading the story online, there's a really difficult moment in particular that stands out around where you received a letter one Friday afternoon from a particular Italian brand that was it must have made for a difficult weekend, that one. But
wasn't my best weekend.
Do you want to talk us briefly through that story?
Yeah, sure. So the first shoes we actually ordered, which actually was a real, that's, talking about, getting cut off at the start. They actually, part of the first shoes we ordered were just off the shelf in a factory.
Okay.
And we designed to make a bit of a range. We kind of got our own designs, but also we were like, we need to kind of beef it up. We need more than 6 pairs of shoes. We're like, okay, we need to probably expand a little bit more. And there were just some off the shelf ones in a factory. And we were like, right, okay, let's start with them. We think they'll sell. And anyway, so we then had, I think about 6 months later, we got a letter from this famous Italian brand. I think it was about 60 page document, and saying how we've copied their shoes and all that sort of stuff. I mean, we had. There's no doubt about it. And we're very open about it. And it's like, it's even on our About Us page. And they had Mishcon de Rere, which is their lawyer, which is the lawyer that Princess Diana used to divorce future King of England. And we had this guy called Mark from Swaffham. I think he turned around to us and said, "Don't worry, guys, they're asking for £100,000. I can get it down to 50." And we're like, "What?" It's like we don't even turned over £50,000 at that point. We're like, we're like, right, this is not going to work. I think he just gave away a load of evidence, which we shouldn't have done. And it just made the whole situation a lot worse. Anyway, we're very lucky. I think one of our family friends just said he would look at it for us. I think we were quite desperate. And he just kind of like made a bit of a ballsy move with them and said, well, what I'll do is he was retiring, I think. And he said, that I'll take this case on and, I'll purposely run it all the way through. Cause I think he used to battle the rear quite a lot. He's one of the, he was for another quite big lawyer firm. He said, I'll take it on personally, run it all the way through, and then I'll just fold the company at the end. You'll get no money, but I'll just do that just to spite you guys. I've been against you for the time. And I think and he said, or we'll just give you 1,500 quid now, and we'll send you all the shoes. And they thought about it for a really long time, and then they just thought, yeah, fine. And so they folded it, and they said, yeah, took it. So we were very lucky. That definitely, took away a lot of our stock to begin with, which wasn't ideal, but I think we've had enough cash to then reinvest it in other stuff. But yeah, no, that's not an ideal. So me and Felix now have a huge appreciation for IP, and it's great. It's a good. Fun enough, actually, I do another company got in a very similar situation. I even heard the story about it, but I was like, there's never. I mean, I was like, we've got 400 shoes. Like, they're not going to find out. And I think there was an article we had where theirs was next to ours. I think their PR team must have spotted it. But I was just like, we've only got 400 pairs of shoes. They're not going to know what we are and swap them, but they somehow did. But yeah, that was very, very nearly the end of it, I'll be honest.
And another piece of the brand that's really sort of intrinsic to how you still set up essentially, but how you've grown is that you're based in Norfolk in sort of converted stables. You started there. You live near there with your business partner also lives very close, and you've remained sort of true to those roots when there have been other options, I suppose, to move away and be it to London or wherever really, and it comes across very clearly that that's reflective of your sort of brand and your audience set as well. Has that been a purposeful move to sort of remain close to your roots and sort of grow out organically out of that home, if you like, in Norfolk?
Yeah, I mean, Felix and I live here, so that's fundamentally going to massively, us staying here. We're based in a stables. It's, what is it? 18th century. I can't remember what 19th century stables. Beautiful, really lovely. And we've always liked that for brand, and it's great for people to, when visitors could come, which obviously they can't anymore. It was really good that it is becoming more and more logistically difficult. I'll be honest, but stables aren't ideal. Warehouse storage, but we are getting there. We're finding ways around it and all that sort of stuff. But we've got no plan to move from Norfolk. Our whole team's here now. A lot of people moved here to Norfolk to work with us, and so it kind of be pretty bad form for us to move anyway. It involved me and Felix then commuting further, so I just can't see it. We've got for Norfolk, it's we've got an amazing team that's won a lot of awards, and it's in Norfolk. We don't have to be in London to do that, and I think it shows that it's kind of like being it shows we've got a fantastic team. You don't have to be in London to have to develop people and have them perform at the top level. I just think so I think there's definitely an overratedness in that, and fundamentally it's that more expensive in London. So we're going to stay around this area definitely, and I say we're not moving away from our team. We've got a fantastic team, and they're pretty happy here as well. So I think we'll stick around anyway.
Great. One of the amazing elements about the brand is it's very organic. People come together under a shared passion for the product almost within that audience set. And there's lots of user-generated content and conversation online, particularly through social media channels such as Instagram. Do you think this has helped with the brand's development and current success, particularly sort of the visual nature of Instagram and the visual nature of your products and the lifestyle image it projects, sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's definitely catching on now, but we always kind of have used our customers for our marketing and celebrated them, to be honest. And I think, so if you think about it, Instagram is pretty much all UGC. Yeah. Facebook as well. Our website, we have a huge amount of UGC on our website under all the products. We've got obviously the reviews, which then have more photographs, which are taken of them. And I think that it's probably more, we were probably one of the first people or one of the early adopters doing that a few years ago, but it definitely has caught on more. I think as people have seen, it's been a huge success, but we've always had the principle that, if you let your customers, your customers, your best advocates, definitely. And if you just enable them to do that, and you do give them a good service, give them a good product that connects with them, they'll do, they'll tell other people for you, and you don't need to necessarily, you don't need a clever marketing strategy over and above that, really. So, and that's basically what we've done and continuing to do. So,
great. And through to the present day, then, the brand's developed a lot since its launch. What's the main focus of the brand right now? What's the plan for this year, as we sort of hopefully come out of COVID and there's a bit more flexibility around consumer habits?
Yeah, I think lots of different levels. Logistically, we've got another warehouse to help bulk storage warehouse coming on the 1st of March. So because we're struggling for space in our stables, we're still going to be used for dispatch, but physically holding loads and loads of boots is becoming a bit of a problem. But we've got big, very exciting spring summer 21 range, autumn winter 21 range coming in this year. We are expanding some categories and developing existing ones already. So, very, very excited for those. In terms of our focus, obviously, there's a big e-commerce focus been over the last year. And we've kind of pivoted to e-com. We were originally about 60%, maybe 50% online, and now that's shifted to about 80 or 90%, which I think is quite common for a lot of people in our position. So there obviously has been a big focus on making the e-com, offering really good. So, making sure our customer service is really well staffed, making sure that deliveries still working next day. It's been a bit of a challenge in COVID, but I think we're pretty much 99.9% of the time they're hitting next day deliveries before our cutoff, which is it can be a real challenge in COVID. But so more of that. I mean, obviously there's more. And there's more fun marketing channels as well, which we're having a little go at. TikTok, for example.
Okay. Yeah, brilliant.
It's really exciting. There's lots more things coming in, which I won't be able to disclose here, sadly. But all I can say is that there's very shortly we'll have new stars coming in, some new products that we've never done before for spring summer. So eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess once the event season comes back, we're not quite sure when that is, obviously, with the events industry being hit as one of the hardest, I think. But, at some point it will. And that will remain intrinsic. I think I'd read as well that you were, or have sort of touched on this area, expanding into Europe and doing some European events in the future. Is that right? Yeah,
so we've done European shows before, and it is quite expensive getting over there, but it's not something we kind of rule out again. Obviously, at the moment with the shows off, it's a real shame because we can't, you can't have that direct connection with the customers that you do get at events. I'm very much looking forward to the game fair being back on, where we have our 15, 20 meter stand, and we've got a bar, we've got a kitchen, we've got music playing, and it's a very, very nice atmosphere. We've got baristas who could do tricks with flames, that sort of stuff is really awesome. So I'm looking forward to that sort of thing being back on. Burley and Badminton as well, they're big shows for us. So it's been a real shame, but when they come back on, I think there may be less shows now going forward. I don't know if we'll be able to go back to the 25 we always used to do, but we'll hopefully do as many as we can. But who knows when that's going to happen again. So
absolutely. And where would you, in terms of future planning or future ambitions, I suppose, it comes clear through the stories you tell and everything that's online, really, that you've always had strong beliefs in the business and where you want to take it. Do you have a sort of vision on where you want to be in the future, where you want to end up? I think I'd when there was an article I read about when you hit 3 million in turnover, it was referenced that was like 3%. So I got for my own maths that might be 100 million that you were looking to grow to. Is that something that you've talked about with Felix or?
Yeah. So I mean, really simply, we would like to. We kind of work in 3 year periods. Otherwise, if you work in longer than that, everything becomes a variable. So it's impossible to work, we almost need a new warehouse, a head office. And so there are too many variables. So we work in 3-year stints, and then we kind of review after 3 years and go, right, what's the next 3 years? So we're looking to roughly, business hopefully triple in size in 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
Starting 1st of March, so starting in 8 days. So because that's our end of year.
Yeah.
So 1st of March, end of year, and then 3 years from that, we are looking to business look roughly 3 times the size. So, that obviously has ramifications for warehousing, for staff, for everything. So we've got a plan for that, which involves mainly the range increasing by about, probably not exactly 3 times, but maybe 2.5. Because obviously I do expect that our existing products will still, I guarantee our Regina will still be a very strong seller in 3 years' time. So that's roughly our outline. And I have got no reason. I'm 30. Felix is 29. I think he's 13 in 2 months. You got no reason to change that. Review in 3 years, just look where we are and go, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve next? I just really love the process. So I'm very happy. I don't have, I just really enjoy doing what I do. I'm sort of marketing director, I suppose, and as well as founder. So I kind of wear a different hat. I do a sort of director hat and marketing hat, and I get very involved in marketing a lot of the times. But I really enjoy it. So I love the process, and and so I can't see why it wouldn't be 3 years time and go, right, what are we going to achieve next? But we just keep it in short windows, so that otherwise everything's a little bit overwhelming. If someone goes, it's a bit like someone saying, what do you want to, have you decided where your funeral will be? It's like, I just want to work on the next few years. So if I hope that paints an okay picture of what you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. And do you see, I know you mentioned some stuff you can't share, that's cool. But do you see the product range, you mentioned expanding the product range there, is it going to go deeper into footwear and perhaps accessories, or are you expanding out, or so it's okay if you can't share?
So we will have a couple more genres, I think come into the fold soon. So you will see new stuff that we haven't done before. So that's very, very exciting. But we are also doing more in footwear. I mean, for God's sake, there's so much more we can do in footwear. So, we are footwear. We're footwear handbag designers, and maybe footwear and accessories is a better way of explaining it. So there's a huge amount in that space, and I think one of the biggest shames is when you just try and be everything to everyone. We very much know what we're good at, and we're going to continue doing that, and we're going to, broaden our circle of competence. But we're not going to suddenly try and do just like everything, because I think there's plenty of brands out there that specialize in nothing. And I think, we want to be, specialist footwear and, accessories, and really make sure that the product we're selling is just fantastic. And that's all that's enough for the next 3 years. Then I'll worry about the next 3 years after that.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I think that brings us to a close, Marcus. Thanks so much for your time. It's been brilliant, and well done on developing a fantastic brand, which is very true to its roots and is very clear on its ambitions. And I wish you all the best for the future, and hope you continue on the same trajectory. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. I think I've avoided mumbling as much as I normally do.
Yeah, it's good, bro.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it, and hopefully the guys, everyone watching, it's been helpful or interesting in some development anyway.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, we'll speak soon, I'm sure. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve. Cheers. Bye.